All right, everybody, welcome here to Nathan Sports Talk. Hopefully, everybody's having themselves a fantastic day. My name is Nathan, and you can guess it, I'm talking sports. We're talking sports today here on the podcast. First ever podcast episode, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft. Currently, we're recording this on Wednesday. I'll probably have to record half it today and half it tomorrow. So, if any trades go down between the time I'm recording right now and then Thursday morning, I'll be able to cover those. If not, it's going to be set in stone to what we have up into the draft. I imagine there's some first round trades. So will this mock draft be 100% correct? Absolutely not. But we're going to be trying to project the draft, and I'll give you my philosophies for each pick right here, going 1 through 32, a pick for every team. So without further ado, if you guys do enjoy this type of content and you guys want to continue to hear me talking sports, we'll talk, NFL, football, we'll talk everything across the spectrum: basketball, hockey, football, of course, baseball, that stuff going on all summer. Make sure you guys are continuing to show support on the podcast. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. We're going to start off with the number one guy right here. Number one overall pick, Tennessee Titans. This is without a question what will most likely happen. It was, barring a blockbuster type trade, we'd imagine Cam Ward going here last year, over 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, to 7 interceptions. In college football, 88.7 QBR, the second highest rated in the FBS last year. There's really nothing that is going to sway me with the opinion that Cam Ward will not be the number one pick here. The Titans have loved him, and just there's nothing to believe that Cam Ward won't go number one. Quarterback is the most important position. He finished second in Heisman, third in Heisman last year, behind Gentry and Hunter. I just don't see a world where Cam Ward isn't the future face of the Tennessee Titans. I've loved this kid coming out of Washington State. Then he transfers over to Miami, and he has the year he does. Propels himself to the first overall pick. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I'm sure you guys have heard it all along. He is the guy right there. He's going to be the number one overall pick. Even in a very weak quarterback type draft class, he still sticks above, and people think he can be a franchise guy, and I certainly agree with that. So Cam Ward to me is the number one overall pick. Moving on to the second overall pick, we're going to talk about a two-way player right here. I think Travis Hunter goes second overall to the Cleveland Browns. The reason I'm picking Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter, even though I think Abdul Carter is a better player and will be a better NFL player than Travis Hunter, is the fact that Travis Hunter satisfies two sides of the ball, both offensive and defensive, wide receiver and cornerback. He is a very, very good standout talent at both ends. Will that work in the NFL? I don't know if he's going to be playing 100 plus downs in the NFL every single week, but what I do know is that he can do it. He can play both sides of the ball, and he will do it at least to some extent. Is he just a third down, nickel corner or something like that potentially? But guess what? He's going to be one of the best cornerbacks on the field, and he's going to be fresh at that point, even though he's playing offensive snaps. Last year, Colorado, 96 receptions, over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns, having himself an excellent year. Not to mention, of course, defensively, interceptions and all that kind of stuff. Wins the Heisman last year, well deserved in my opinion. Two-way player, it's very difficult to do. Even though Gentry had the year he did, I think Travis Hunter did deserve the Heisman. I think they gave it to the right person. So I think Hunter is the second overall pick right here to the Cleveland Browns. Again, satisfies position needs. I get it. The Browns secondary isn't the weakest point on this team, and their wide receivers are not fantastic, so they definitely need to address the wide receiver issue, which is pretty tough to do with the number 2 overall pick. But you get, kind of the option here where you're not going to be crucified for taking a wide receiver at number 2, even though he's very good, and he might not be the best pure wide receiver prospect in this draft, even though I think he is. I know a lot of people argue a guy like Ted McMillan or other guys like that, which we'll talk about here in a little bit as we get further down in the draft. But the thing is, he plays two sides of the ball, satisfies two positions of need. Not saying the edge isn't that important, but for the Browns, in which you just locked up Myles Garrett on the edge right there for years to come, I think you'll be okay. I think you can spare trying to address that position of need right now. So Travis Hunter goes second, in my opinion, to the Cleveland Browns. Then moving third, you guys can guess right here, we're going to talk about Abdul Carter going third overall, in my opinion, to the New York Giants. So here's the weird position of what are the Giants going to do? Are they going to take their franchise quarterback? Are they going to take a Shedeur? Are they going to take a Jaxson Dart at 3? I don't think they do, just because of how they dress the offseason. I'm not saying they don't like those guys, and if those guys continue to fall, do they move in to potentially pick a Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders in the mid-teens or even into the 20s if they get that low? I definitely see where that happens, but at the third overall pick, there's so many teams behind them that probably will not go quarterback prospects, so I think Abdul is a great pick right here. You can pair him up with Brian Burns on the other side. Kayvon Thibodeau, while underperforming, I don't think they're going to bring him back on a 5th-year option because, I mean, how much edges get paid and all that stuff. I don't see them taking the 5th-year option on his rookie contract. I can see them walking away from Kayvon Thibodeau, a former top 5 pick, I believe, 5th overall pick in 2022, maybe 6. I forget which position order he was in, but regardless, Abdul Carter, I've been saying this for a long time. I think Abdul is the best pure player in this draft. I think he's going to be the biggest impact and has the highest upside to where I can see this guy being a top 10, top 15 defender of all time. That's how much praise I have for Abdul Carter. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Penn State fan. I'm saying that because, listen, this kid transcended the pass rush of Penn State. He went from linebacker to edge, and it was seeming, now you struggle for the first couple of games, and then all of a sudden everything just flew right in. He was disrupting almost every play and causing pressure on the quarterback. Abdul Carter is such a staple. He will be such a great player on the team. Barring any injuries, I don't see a world where this is a miss at all. And I think the Giants, this is a perfect position if you want to go and try to get Abdul Carter Jr. out of Penn State. I think he goes number 3 overall. Moving into the 4 slot, it's tough. This is the toughest pick, I think, because do you go with this prospect that's been hyped up for so long and Will Campbell? If you're the Patriots, do you go with a guy like Mason Graham, worry about the defense, Jalen Walker, or even think about a guy like Tyler Warren as high as 4 out of Penn State? I don't think they do any of that, but go back to what should be the 4th overall pick, and that's Will Campbell. Will Campbell is I know we've had this Membu out of Missouri fly up the draft boards because he had an excellent combine and stuff like that. I don't see a world where Will Campbell isn't the first offensive lineman taken off the board, and you can get your franchise cornerstone offensive tackle for the next 10, 15 years to pair with Drake May right here at the 4th slot. It would be fantastic if one of these 2 teams above them went quarterback because you'd have either Hunter or Abdul Carter fall to you at 4. I just don't see that happening. And I don't think the Patriots want to draft. I shouldn't say they don't want to draft Will Campbell. I just think that they would prefer those 2 guys significantly more than Will Campbell because they feel like better, home run potential players. Travis Hunter feels like it could be one of, if not the best players in the NFL and most impactful NFL players because he plays 2 sides of the ball. And Abdul Carter can be one of the best pass rushers, which is a position of need both for the Patriots and a lot of teams out there is a pass rusher. So I don't think any of those 2 drop to them, so I think we'll take Will Campbell right here. They play it safe. They go with an offensive lineman. People aren't going to criticize the pick. People aren't going to say, hey, listen, this is a bad pick because guess what? Building the trenches is so important, and you have to do that as an NFL team, and I think they do that right here at the 4th overall pick and go Will Campbell out of LSU. I think that's the correct pick at 4, and I think that is what the Patriots are going to go with. Moving on to number 5, and this is a position where it's Ashton Jeanty flying here. Is he the pick right here, the running back who can take Travis Etienne's spot, he can take Tank Bigsby's spot, and maybe get that offense back into a rhythm with Jacksonville, get Trevor Lawrence back on the right track? I don't think the running back selection would be of the best interest for the Jaguars. I don't see that happening. Instead, I see Mason Graham out of Michigan going. And listen, did he have an underwhelming year? Potentially. If you look at statistically wise, 24 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks. That doesn't just scream 5th overall pick off the board for you to defense tackle. I'll tell you what, this guy disrupted damn near every play. This guy is a force inside for Michigan. You cannot run at him. He will cause havoc if you try running up the gut. I think Mason Graham is a fantastic player, junior out of the University of Michigan. Again, this is a pick that people will not criticize because you're taking a defensive tackle, and if you can get a defensive tackle that can cause mayhem, guess what? People aren't going to be able to run up inside of you. He might create some pressure, and quarterbacks might have to move outside the pocket if he's causing that pressure of the middle. So I think Mason Graham is the correct pick for the Jaguars here at 5. I think that he's the most safe prospect. Maybe not the most safe. I think he is a really safe prospect at 5. I don't think this guy is going to fail in the NFL. I think this guy's going to be an excellent player. I trust Mason Graham. He's 6'3", 320. He's a big dude. He's athletic. Comes out of Michigan. They know how to play ball up there. Jaguars go Mason Graham at 5, I think. I think that is where Mason Graham goes. And now talking about a guy I've mentioned a few times, Ashton Jeanty, I think goes 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. He's been mocked to them this entire time. The kid's GM continues to say, hey, listen, Ev, you don't draft Ashton Jeanty, basically I'm going to hate you for the rest of your life. So I don't see a world where Ashton Jeanty isn't going to the Raiders right here. This feels like outside of Cam Ward, potentially the safest spot for Ashton Gent, or like the safest pick, and you can mock it almost unless the Raiders do something crazy where they draft a player, higher than we think they are, or they just trade out the pick, or they go quarterback here. I don't see a world where they go as much as the Shedeur and Tom Brady relationship is intact, and I think that's definitely intriguing and a point to emphasize. I don't see it happening because I think that Geno Smith, he can play 2 or 3 years there. I don't think you need a quarterback this moment. I think Genty is a much more impactful player in a position that you literally do not have anybody of, I don't want to say anybody talent, but you don't really have starting quality NFL running backs at your running back position right now. Ashton Genty will fill that void instantly. Everybody knows about the stats: over 2,600 yards and 29 touchdowns, 7 yards per carry last year. This kid is a beast out of Boise State, the blue turf up there. I think Genty goes 6 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, I feel like this is a very, very safe mock, and pretty much everybody has him going to the Raiders, I would imagine. Moving on to the 7th overall pick, the New York Jets. I think they go defensive right here. I think they go and take Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Jalen Walker, junior out of Georgia. He was a guy that hyped up coming in the year. He didn't really, blow people away, but he also kind of performed at expectations where it's like, hey, listen, this kid's going to be a top draft prospect. I think he falls 7 to the Jets. They need pass rushing help. When you think about that pass rush, they don't really have too much to write home about right there. I think that Jalen Walker would fit in perfectly whenever you're trying to kind of revamp that defensive pass rush, because last year, especially since Robert Saleh left his last game, and since that team traveled back from London, that defense just could not stop a nosebleed. It felt like they every week would get pummeled, and really wasn't until the end of the year that kind of started getting their form back together. But if you insert Jalen Walker in there, who again comes from a rough and tough SEC, who is just battle tested, I think Jalen Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia, would fit in perfectly for the Jets. I think a lot of Jets fans would be pretty pumped about this, getting a potential future Pro Bowl outside linebacker pass rusher out of Georgia. Jalen Walker would be an excellent pick at number 7 to the New York Jets. So I'm going to mock him to go. Following that, I've gotten what my opinion is the maybe next to Cam Ward, the safe. Cam Ward's tough because quarterbacks are tough to be safe because you're either good or you're not, pretty much. So if you're not good, people are going to call you a bust. But this guy, I don't think is going to disappoint anybody. Tyler Warren out of Penn State, I have mocked at 8 to the Carolina Panthers. This is a lot higher than a lot of people are seeing him going, but I think that the Panthers would love this guy. I mean, the Panthers do not have a tight end really at all on the roster right now. Not an NFL quality tight end, so you fill out a position of need. Not to mention, he can also spread out wide in a team that, again, is lacking a lot of offensive weapons, and you want to help out your young quarterback in Bryce Young. Well, how do you do that? You get him a safety target, a safety blanket here with Tyler Warren. This kid could take direct snaps at quarterback. Could it change the trajectory of how NFL ball was even played with him if you have him come? He was a former NFL quarterback out of Virginia, I want to say, but Mechanicsville, Virginia, however you pronounce it. Tyler Warren is just, he is a fun prospect. I don't think he fails. I don't see a world where he slips too far down the board. I think people are going to realize that this kid is so good. 104 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. That's all receiving guys. He also rushed the ball significantly, very, very well for the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think Tyler Warren goes 8 to the Carolina Panthers, helping out Bryce Young and that offense and a young head coach down there. That's where the controversy begins, I think. I think it happens. I do think it happens at 9. I think the New Orleans Saints go out and take Shedeur Sanders. I know a lot of people are saying there's no way in hell the Saints are going with quarterback here. They don't like Shedeur enough. No. They're not going to let him slip because he is talented enough that he could be a star in this league. He's also not polished enough to where I think he could fail miserably. I think number 9 is a fair spot for him to the Saints. I just think no one above him or above drafting the Saints, any of those teams I previously mentioned, are going to swing. I think the Saints do it. Spencer Rattler, I think they realize is not the guy. I'm not saying he did horrible last year, but he's just not. Something's just off with Spencer Rattler. I don't know. Coming out of college, he was off. I mean, coming out of high school, he was the number 1 recruit. He was number one, number two quarterback recruit. He was really highly talented, but then kind of just everything didn't work out, and sometimes that happens. I think Shedeur goes number 9 to the Saints. I think that Kellen Moore, new coach down there, fresh start. Got Derek Carr to learn, and Derek Carr's been an excellent quarterback in this league for 11 years now, 10 years. I think he's a great guy to learn under. You can maybe sit a year and just kind of learn a scheme, learn the offense, and kind of how an NFL quarterback operates. Over 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Now listen, is he cocky? Absolutely. I'll tell you what though, he is a great teammate, a great leader. I think Shedeur Sanders fits perfect in New Orleans. I think that Saints fans, while in the moment they'd be like, come on, I think, is this really the pick? I think you also got to outweigh the thing where it's like, is there any other prospects that you think are home runs that you wouldn't swing at Shedeur here at 9? I mean, it's not like you're drafting in the top 5, which you're getting these quote-unquote lock-type players, which are supposed to be very good to Pro Bowl starters in the NFL. Now you're getting into that 6 to 10 range where it's like, okay, listen, you take your swing and you might have the best prospects still in the draft, but they got to develop well. Again, that's how Shedeur was talked about coming out. That's how it was talked about at the beginning of the year. I like Shedeur here at number 9 to the New Orleans Saints, going down to Louisiana and maybe turn some stuff around down there, but we'll see. But I think the Saints swing on Shedeur, and we'll see if it's a swing or a miss. Chicago Bears drafting at 10. This is another hotbed for Ashton Jeanty again, but I don't think he goes. I don't think he drops that far, so I think the Bears end up doing not a flash pick right here. Armin Membu out of Missouri. Again, a guy who had an excellent combine. He's a little bit smaller, an offensive tackle, only 6'3", 314, but he can, again, athletic freak. He can just block his ass off. He's quite a blindside protection for a Caleb Williams. This is something like the Patriots are going to do with Drake May, where it's like, hey, listen, we need to protect our quarterback. We don't want him getting hurt. Let's bring in a tackle to protect him. The Bears, they just don't have the offensive line. That was a big knock of them. Darnell Wright hasn't panned out. They do not have the offensive line to where you trust them to hold up every single play and give you your young quarterback time to read a defense and seize out pressure and all that stuff. I think Membu would be a fantastic pick. I think if he's sitting there, there's no reason to pass him up. There's not a prospect that I think could be more impactful on your team, at least immediately, than a guy like this for the Chicago Bears. I think Chicago Bears take him at 10, and they don't pass it up. Moving on to number 11 for the San Francisco 49ers. So this is a guy that is going to be, again, another very, guy who can slide a lot. Shedeur McMillan. Boy, he looks like Calvin Johnson. He looks like Megatron. He looks like the best receiver coming out of this draft. I think he's the first receiver out of this draft. True receiver, I should say. Travis Hunter, I think, is the first receiver gone. But true number one type. Not that Travis Hunter is a number one type. You know what I'm trying to say. Like, just pure wide receiver in this draft. I don't think there's anybody better. He had an excellent year in 2023 and even 2024, in which we all thought he kind of had a down year. Still 84 receptions, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, 15.7 average. He somehow gets open. Now, I will say he's shooting himself in the foot, saying he doesn't watch film. He's a volleyball guy. He's doing these things where it's like, come on. Like, NFL scouts don't want to hear that. Otherwise, I think there's more ways to top 5 pick. That's how good he is. I think there's some character issues. I think those can be worked out. I think that the 49ers and a guy like Kyle Shanahan, who's an excellent coach and can kind of coach through that stuff, I think that's where you go and get. I think that's where you go and get this guy who got rid of Deebo Samuel's offseason. Still got Brandon Ayuk coming off an injury. You got Ricky Pearsall, who's a young guy. Jawan Jennings is coming into his own. Throw Shedeur McMillan in that locker room with the Brandon Ayuk guidance, with Jawan Jennings, who's now been around for a couple years. Ricky Pearsall, who he started coming on last year. I think this would fit very, very, very well for Shanahan's offense. I like Shedeur McMillan going 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. Next up is the Dallas Cowboys at 12. Again, this will not be a flashy pick, but I think Mykel Williams out of Georgia is a very nice pick right here for the Dallas Cowboys. They're expected to lock up Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence exits the Cowboys this offseason. Mykel Williams would be a great option on the edge across from Micah Parsons, who's about to get broken off and paid. You didn't pay DeMarcus Lawrence, but guess what? Bring in Mykel Williams now. Again, I can't say this enough. Georgia is a factory at producing prospects. Do it. Do it if you are the Dallas Cowboys with Jerry Jones. I don't know if there's a prospect that would fit more for them. I think he's the best remaining available option to their disposal. I think if Tet's there, I think they have Tet, but I think he's gone the pick before. I think Michael Williams would be a very, very good edge rusher. I like Michael Williams to the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. Moving on to number 13, the Miami Dolphins, for a position of need now because of the exit of Jalen Ramsey, or which we presume will get traded. Does he get traded on draft night? We'll kind of see that. I think Will Johnson out of the University of Michigan, which again was supposed to be a top 5 prospects coming into this year's draft. He gets injured. Obviously, he doesn't really play too much in the year. 6'2", 202, 12 tackles and 2 interceptions. Last 3 passes defended. I mean, he didn't play that many games. He only played 5 games total last year. Just getting injury riddled. He's good, man. He's a good player. He was a very, very integral part of the team that won the national championship a couple years ago. Will Johnson would be a major, major miss for any of these teams past, even above. Like, what I'm basically trying to say is Will Johnson is a top 5 talent. He just has the injury issues. Modern medicine, you don't pass him up, man. You don't pass up Will Johnson, especially at number 13. If he's sitting there in a position of need, you need some cornerback depth and cornerback help if you're the Dolphins with Jalen Ramsey leaving. I mean, that cornerback team is basically gutted. Cornerback room, gutted. Fill it with maybe a guy who can be top 5 corner in the league in Will Johnson. So I like him at number 13. 14 for the Indianapolis Colts. We're sticking with Michigan right here. Back-to-back boys in blue. Draft right here. I think Colston Loveland goes at number 14 to the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, they got Jelani Woods. I think they still have Jelani Woods. That's what I should say. But tight end is a position of need. You can help out AR or Daniel Jones, whoever your starting quarterback is next year, with a safety blanket. Kind of like the same thing I talked about with Tyler Warren, where he made plays last year. 56 receptions, 582 yards, 5 touchdowns. The stats don't just blow you away, but he can block, he can catch the ball, and he can run some pretty nice routes. And again, he is a safety blanket for any quarterback, especially young ones at that. Daniel Jones is still a young quarterback. Do I think he's the future in Indy? Absolutely not. But you got AR there who he will be able to help Colston Level to be able to help him develop both with his accuracy and just kind of taking the checkdowns maybe a little bit more. So Colston Loveland, I think, would be a great pick if they can get him at number 14, the Indianapolis Colts. I think that's who they end up ultimately going with. 15 to the Atlanta Falcons. I think Shamar Stewart out of the Texas A&M Aggies is going to be the pick right here. 6'6" junior out of Florida, edge rusher, now Texas A&M from Miami, Florida. I think that Shamar Stewart is, again, a guy that a lot of people were talking about coming into the year. Like, hey, listen, this kid is a freak of nature off the edge. Edge rushers are, you could argue, the second or third most important outside of left tackle and quarterback in the NFL. You need pass rushers, and Shamar Stewart will help that pass rush significantly. Matthew Judon significantly underperforming last year. It just felt like that the Falcons' defensive pass rush need a little bit of help, and Shamar Stewart will be able to supply that. I think he goes number 15 to the Atlanta Falcons, and this will be the last part I record for right now, but I am going to talk about Mike Green out of Marshall going 16 to the Arizona Cardinals right here. Again, another thing where he just didn't, the Cardinals, the Cardinals themselves didn't produce that much pass rushing ability. They need help. They need to help out Kyler Murray in the offense and be able to get off the field, get in better positions. And a guy like Mike Green, who had a really good year out of Marshall, is a very, very intriguing pick. And a guy sitting there who is a very talented player. Some people are saying, hey, listen, he's better than Shamar Stewart. Well, guess what? I think that Shamar Stewart goes in the SEC. I think he was before him. That's just kind of a natural thing right here. So then out of a non-Power 5 conference, the Marshall Thundering Herd. This might be the first player outside of, I guess, Boise State, Ashton Genty, but second player total, not in a group Power 4 conference. group of 5 team. Mike Green right here at 16. I think anytime you can help out the pass rush, take the chance, do it. I think it's a great pick for the Arizona Cardinals if they get it there. So we'll move on to number 17, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. So looking at the Cincinnati Bengals, now the Cincinnati Bengals, they locked up 3 long-term guys. They locked up Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, basically spending over, probably half their salary cap on those 3 guys. And for a team that forgot how to play defense last year, that's going to be pretty important in this draft, and I definitely think they're going to target that. If they even think about offense, this fan base is going to riot because they have enough pieces on offense to be able to be sizable and be able to win any game they're in. So I do think they target the defense, and I think this is maybe the first people would call reach of the draft. But again, a guy coming in the year with a lot of hype right here. I think James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals draft pick at number 17. It's a great spot to get an edge rusher. You don't know what's going on with Trey Hendrickson. Even if he does come back, you'll have him on the opposite side and him to learn under Mr. Hendrickson. So James Pierce Jr. I think will be an excellent pick if they can find him still sitting at 17, and I don't know why he wouldn't be there. Again, he's a guy who's kind of fallen down the draft board for a lot of people, but was a very talented prospect out of Tennessee. Didn't perform maybe up to expectations, but still, in my opinion, is one of the better players in the draft, and as an edge rusher, a very, very integral piece of a team. It'd be a really good draft pick at number 17, so I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. there. At number 18 for the Seattle Seahawks, I think they target offensive line, offensive tackle Kelvin Banks out of Texas. This is a guy who a lot of people have a lot higher on their best players available because he's a very, very good prospect out of Texas. And again, offensive tackles are they're good picks. They're not flashy picks, but they're great picks because you need to protect the blind side. You need to help Sam Darnold out. This offensive line just is not the greatest. This entire team just isn't the greatest, but this is a good start. Good foundation built up front. Potentially be able to run the ball a little bit better with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Give Sam Darnold a little extra time to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp and Jaxson Smith-Njigba. So I think Kelvin Banks would be an excellent pick here at tackle position for the Seattle Seahawks if they can nab him. If he's sitting at 18, I think there's a chance he's gone, but if he's still sitting there, I don't see him falling past 18 with the Seahawks because of the position of need, not to mention a very, very good prospect and a guy who's a lot higher in a lot of people's draft boards than mine. I just think some of these other guys who maybe have some, I don't want to say more hype name or more prestige behind them, but maybe were better prospects a couple years ago, maybe just underperformed a little bit, but still very good talent athletic wise. I think some of these guys maybe do a little bit better than Kelvin Banks. So I think Kelvin Banks drops to 18 to the Seattle Seahawks, and I don't think Seahawks fans will complain one bit if you get a cornerstone offensive tackle on your offensive line for maybe the next 10-15 years right here at number 18 in the 2025 NFL Draft. Looking at number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them going to the SEC and going with a linebacker for their team, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. 55 tackles last year, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Having a really good year as a junior outside of Tuscaloosa right there. I think that the Buccaneers, they just need some defensive help. I think their offense has performed exceptional over the last couple of years. The running game's been great. The offensive line's held up. Baker Mayfield's played like a star, and that wide receiver core is as good as ever with some, you got kind of a three-headed monster now between Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Jalen McMillan, who kind of came into his own towards the end of the year as well. Tampa Bay, maybe getting some help defensively. Linebackers getting a little bit old. Getting some youth in there with Jahad Campbell. He should be able to perform very well. He's 6'3", 244, so he's not one of these super small guys, and he can run stuff. He can play the pass. He can do pretty much all of it. He can cover tight. He is athletic enough to where at number 19, it's probably a good pick to use on Jahad Campbell. Again, the guy's been battle tested in Alabama. Jahad Campbell, I think, goes number 19 in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to help out that offense and try to get them some more stops and get them some better field positions. So I'll go Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama, at number 19. Going on to the Denver Broncos, I think we see the second running back off the board right here from the North Carolina Tar Heels, Omarion Hampton. Last year, 281 carries, over 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. Had a really good year last year, sneaky year. A lot of people didn't talk about him. If it wasn't for Ashton Jeanty, this guy would be the number one back, I think, unanimously. He is able to break away. His breakaway speed. He He's not the biggest guy. He's 6'2", 220, so he's not like a Derrick Henry. He's not going to run you over, but he can still break tackles. He can get moving. He can run up the gut, and not to mention he has the speed and capability to go on the outsides. You get another playmaker for Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Sean Payton will find a way to use this guy perfectly. That running back room last year was horrendous. I mean, Javonte Williams, he's not good, man. I hate to break to all you Cowboys fans who just signed him. I don't think he's very good. Not to mention, I mean, who else have Jaleel McLaughlin? I think there's not really too much talent, being frank with you, in that Denver locker room. And if you can address probably their biggest position of need, because their wide receiver core, while it isn't incredible, it was sufficeable. Same with the tight end. The offensive line is, they performed pretty well last year. Add Omari and Hampton in there. Maybe the offense comes a little more complete and they're closer to the Chiefs than maybe the Chargers. I mean, listen, I love Sean Payton, man. He knows how to utilize players, develop players, and Omari and Hampton would be an excellent player in a system. I think they go with him at number 20. 21, this is where, if he's sitting there, I think there's no way Mike Tomlin's going to pass on this guy. Jaxson Dart out of Ole Miss, quarterback. There's just no way. There's no way he's going to roll the dice. I think he's going to bring in Aaron Rodgers here. I do think he's going to bring in Aaron Rodgers here for 1 year. You have to have a solution at quarterback, though, for the long term. Is Jaxson Dart the guy? Listen, I've loved Jaxson Dart since 2022. I thought this kid was going to be a first-round pick coming out. He sort of just tailed off toward the end of the year. He was going to be a first-round pick, and then he just kind of like, that Florida game, I think, turned a lot of people the wrong way. What was it, 3 interceptions? He kind of threw like 3 interceptions in the final minute, but 2 of them got called back. He was just making boneheaded moves. Listen, 4,300 yards pretty much, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 4th highest QBR in college football last year. Seniors got experience. Where'd he start? USC, I believe, then transferred over to Ole Miss. And, Lane Kiffin's offense, there's been a ton of quarterbacks historically that have come out of there and done fantastic. I mean, you think about the last few, just not really developing Matt Corral and those types of guys. But Jaxson Dart is different, I think. I think Jaxson Dart he looks like a quarterback. He has the moxie of a quarterback. Now, he's a little cocky. I know that rubs people the wrong way. Maybe not as much as Shedeur, but he's going to let you know he's good. He's going to let you know he's good. I think Jaxson Dart, you have to have a solution if you're the Steelers at quarterback. If he's sitting here, this is a guy, I don't think you're going to find a more talented quarterback maybe in the next 5 years at 21 than Jaxson Dart. I mean, if he finished out the year strong, he would probably be a top 5 pick. He'd be over Shedeur. He'd probably get in the Giants, the Browns, but that just didn't happen. So, and is there a chance he still gets picked very high? Absolutely, because you know how this league is. There's a chance he somehow goes in the top 10 because that's what quarterbacks do. They go high. And as a Steelers fan, I'm a Steelers fan. As a Steelers fan, I would be so irritated if they did not draft him. If he's sitting there, there's no way that he's not being drafted to the Steelers. He's not getting past pick 21, and if he does, I don't know what Mike Tomlin's vision is. I don't know. So Jaxson Dart got mocked at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 22, the Los Angeles Chargers. This, again, maybe a reach for some people, but, I mean, he's not too far down the boards, compared to 22. I think Kenneth Grant out of Michigan goes to the Los Angeles Chargers. Number one, there's obviously Michigan ties with Jim Harbaugh. He loves his players. He recruited this guy coming out. 18 solo tackles, 3 sacks last year, so really not the greatest statistical year for a defensive tackle, but again, this is a big guy, 6'3", 339. He can clog up the middle. He's able to just stop the run. He's able to get a little bit of pressure up the middle. That's what the Chargers are lacking a little bit. The Chargers don't have the best defense line in the world now. Obviously, they do not bring back Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa is with the Bills now. I believe he's with the Bills, right? Yeah, I believe he's with the Bills. They do have Khalil Mack back. Their interior defense line could use a little bit of help. So Kenneth Grant, this is probably a good spot for him to slot in. Again, kind of the previous connection with Jim Harbaugh. It's going to help a little bit. So I'm going to go Kenneth Grant getting the nod at 22 and getting drafted here by the Los Angeles Chargers. On to 23. The Green Bay Packers, I'm going to be going with, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Jahad Barron, I'm going to pronounce it. 46 tackles at the cornerback position last year, 5 interceptions, 11 passes defended. Those stats tell you right there, he's a physical corner. He's able to break up balls. He's able to in man coverage, even in zone, he's able to get to the ball and cause incompletions or maybe even pick the ball off with 5 interceptions last year. He's only 5'11", so he's not the biggest guy in the world, but 5'11" still plays in the NFL. He's not like he's 5'8", where he's just not, going to be able to cover a guy like A.J. Brown or trying to think of other bigger DK Metcalf, those types of guys. But he's going to be able to play just well. Texas, born and raised there in Texas. He's a senior this year. He's 5'11". He's got the experience. The Packers need cornerback help. Jair Alexander, I don't think we really know what's going on with that yet. He was injured a ton last year. Is he going to be anywhere similar? If he's even with the team, I don't know. But I think the Packers here, I think they're in a weird spot where I don't know. Nothing's bad on their team, but nothing's great either. So, like the wide receiver core, is it where you try to get a wide receiver? Do you reach for a receiver here? Do you move back down maybe to get a receiver? Because there's still guys like Luther Burden and, Mecca Buka on the board here. Maybe, or maybe they just pick him at 23, but I think they focus on the defense side with the cornerback help. I'll get the Green Bay Packers taking Jahad Barron right here out of Texas, cornerback at number 23. On to 24. This is one of my favorite guys out of the draft. Maybe more underrated guys out of the draft. I love Malachi Starks. I thought this kid was fantastic since his freshman year at Georgia. 52 solo tackles last year, an interception, 3 passes defended. Again, some of these stats don't fly off the board, but he can move quick. He can deflect. He can break up passes. He's just an excellent safety to have roaming your field. Now, they did lose some safety. I believe they lost Cameron Bynum, the Minnesota Vikings this year, so kind of need a replacement right here. This is the perfect guy. Malachi Starks will fit in perfectly out of Georgia. There's not much more to say here besides he's a Georgia kid. And I always say this, but Georgia kids do something, man. Georgia kids know how to play ball. Kirby Smart teaches them the right way. And think about how many defenders go up to the next level and just absolutely kill it. I mean, we got Jalen Carter, we got Nolan Smith, we got basically the entire Eagles defense. But, Trayvon Walker, while he's maybe a little bit of a bust right now at the first overall pick, he isn't horrible. So, I like Malachi Starks going 24 to Minnesota right here out of Georgia. Feels like the right pick. Feels like the right situation. Feels like the right place to slot him in to replace Cameron Bynum. Had an excellent year last year. So Malachi Starks, I think, is the correct option right here at number 24. And I think that's who the Minnesota Vikings will go with. If he's still sitting there, there's a world where he flies up draft boards tonight too, because I'm sure people like athletic talent, and I understand, hey, listen, he's playing the best competition. He's playing maybe the best defensive scheme in football in Georgia. So I'm going to go with Malachi Starks at number 24. The Houston Texans at 25 are going to be taking a fellow Ohio State player, a pair of C.J. Stroud, who was an Ohio State player, although I don't think they ever played together. Josh Simmons, senior out of Ohio State right here at offensive tackle. We get rid of Laremy Tunsil. You need a replacement. Josh Simmons slots right in. He's a big guy, 6'5", 310. He's going to be able to move. He's not, he's athletic enough where he can move. He can pull block. He can, protect the blind side of Stroud. Again, not a flashy pick, but a necessity pick. And if you can get him at the back end of the first round, get yourself an offensive tackle at the back end of the first round, then you can worry about maybe a skill position in the second or third round. I think it's not a bad option. I don't think it's a bad pick right here if you go Josh Simmons for the Houston Texans, helping out C.J. Stroud and protecting him just a little bit more. The Los Angeles Rams, again, this is, maybe if Jaxson Dart falls, this is a good spot for him. But again, I don't see him getting past pick 21. But I have the Los Angeles Rams going with defensive lineman Derek Harmon right here out of Oregon, 27 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. They need a little bit of defensive line help. Their pass rush is getting a lot better on the outsides with guys like Jared Verse, Braden Fitz, those types of guys. But if you can get someone up the middle to potentially help the run game a little bit and maybe create a little bit of pressure up the middle, Derek Harmon would be an excellent pick. 6'5", 310 out of Oregon. He's a big guy. He's able to move. He's able to cause disruption. He's able to, he can just shed blocks and stop the run game. So, again, not a flashy pick. These people, fans don't want to see the offensive defensive linemen, but they realize how important they are. And if you can get them, especially in the first round, if you can get a talented player who might be a top 5 to 10 type guy in the league who has that talent to be a top 5, 10 guy at their peak, it's a good pick. It's a good pick. Derek Harmon, I think, goes 26 to the Los Angeles Rams. Looking at the Baltimore Ravens, I do think they draft a receiver right here. I like Matthew Golden out of Texas. Last year, 58 receptions, 987 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So maybe not the best statistical season, but 6', 195. He's always been a guy who's had a lot of hype surrounding him. Feels like he can make a ton of plays. And for Lamar Jackson, I mean, the receiver room just has let you down year after year. Zay Flowers has been a lot better as of, he's been improving every single week. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely at the tight end position are very, very good. But then you look outside those pass catch. I mean, who you got? Nelson Aguilar. You got Rashad Bateman's done very well, but there's no doubt in my mind Matthew Golden would exceed Rashad Bateman, so you're getting yourself, and they've plugged in veteran receivers left and right who just really haven't stuck over the last 2 years, who haven't made enough impact. So if you get a guy like Matthew Golden, a young guy at the back end of the first round, similar to how they did with Zay Flowers a couple years ago out of Boston College, where you get him in the back half of the first round, he produces very well. Think about it, if you have two Zay Flowers, basically, I mean, if he performs like Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson is going to have another great pass target who can beat man coverage, who can find the holes in zone coverage, and they can connect and potentially maybe get past the Chiefs, the Bills. We'll see. But it definitely would have helped to have him in the playoff game. So I'm going to go Matthew Golden, slotted in number 27 to the Baltimore Ravens. The Detroit Lions at number 28. They're going to take Donovan. I'm going to call it E because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Izuoku, maybe? He's an edge rusher out of Boston College, senior, 6'2", 247. Their defense needs help, man. Their defense, it was so depleted last year. They've lost some pieces. Get some more depth there. Get some more guys, some more edge rushers to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. That would help significantly. It'd help his pass rush game and also help just the entire Lions defense as a whole. The Lions are going to be a weird team this year because they lose basically their entire coaching staff. You got to replace everybody, but the team itself isn't too tremendously different. Now, there are, pieces gone and stuff like that. They did just lock up Kirby Joseph yesterday, so that's a really good move from them. But there might be some struggle, but if you get a pass rusher, you get a guy who can make an impact on a third down or, come in as a spot guy and be able to perform very well and kind of develop. Donovan E. can do that. I think he does that at Boston College, and I think the Detroit Lions take him at number 28. 29, the Washington Commanders are going to go with Nick Emanwari, I believe is how you pronounce his name, out of South Carolina, safety, 57 tackles last year to 4 interceptions, 2 passes defended. That's kind of a position. They do got Jeremy Chin, I believe, still on the team, Jeremy Chin, but put him across the way. This was a position of lacking in this team. As crazy as it sounds, if Jane Daniels can still play very good, they're way closer to a Super Bowl than they are to the first overall draft. I mean, this team was 1 game away from the Super Bowl last year. I don't think there was a chance they were going to be the Eagles in that game because I think the Eagles are just better at pretty much every single position. Maybe outside of quarterback, you could argue Jane Daniels is maybe a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts last year, but I'm not going to say that yet. I think Jalen Hurts is still a little better of a quarterback, and we still got to see a little more out of Jane Daniels, but get some defensive help on that side of the ball. That's the one thing is this team defensively maybe is a little bit older than what they'd like to be. I mean, you think about especially the linebacker. I mean, Bobby Wagner's a little bit older and stuff like that. I'm not slotting a linebacker, but this is a guy who can even maybe drop down the box at 6'3", 227 and play linebacker because you see a lot of those guys. Like Jeremy Chin did that for a little bit, I believe, in Carolina. There's been tons of other safeties who have dropped in and out. Jamal Adams is a big one who did that back in the day for the Jets and the Seahawks. Nick Emanwari, again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correct, but I got him slotted at number 29 to the Washington Commanders. Final 3 picks here in this first round. The Buffalo Bills, I think they go with Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I don't think this guy is a first-round talent. I think he's a second-round talent, but I think he is a guy you want in your locker room and a guy who's going to help everybody. In the position he'll be in at Buffalo, he won't be tasked to be a number 1 receiver. He'll be tasked to be a number 2 or 3, which is where he always excelled at Ohio State. I mean, you can always see he was second fiddle to a guy like Marvin Harrison, to a guy like even his senior rookie years, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, or even last year Jeremiah Smith. He was always playing second fiddle, and he fit in that role perfectly. And I just think teams like him a lot. A lot of people talk about him rising up people's draft boards. Well, I think the Bills take the chance on him at 30. Last year, 81 receptions to just over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, again, he isn't the most statistically blowing you away type receiver. He's not the biggest guy in the world, 6'1", 205, but he's just a surefire. He's going to be good. There's no way this guy fails because of how much experience he has at Ohio State. He quarterback situation changing every year. He still performed very well. I like Emeka Buka a lot. I do, even as a Penn State fan. I don't like Ohio State. I think this kid is excellent. I think this kid has the tools to be a very good receiver. Maybe not a 1, but definitely a strong 2 or even a 3. And that's kind of where he'll be slotted in behind Khalil Shakir and those types of guys in Buffalo. And they also have a tight end room, which can take a little bit of a load off of Emeka as well. So I'll go the Buffalo Bills taking Emeka Buka at number 30. All right, so moving on to number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. I've taken Tyler Booker, offensive guard out of Alabama. They lose Joe Thuney this year, need to replace him. And kind of the offensive line was the big issue last year in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a good spot where you can slot him in. You can take a young guard, Alabama. They traditionally perform pretty well in the NFL. Again, not a flashy pick right here, but a necessity. And I think that Tyler Booker, if you take him offensive guard out of Alabama, he'll be able to fill the shoes, maybe not up to Joe Thuney's level, but be able to make an impact on that team in a position of need. So I'll go with Tyler Booker out of Alabama, offensive guard at number 31. And then the final pick of the first round, the Philadelphia Eagles. I have taken a guy who has fallen out of a lot of people's first rounds, but I think they're going to pull the trigger right here because this is what they do. They take talent that has been forgotten about and they develop them into stars. Think about Cooper DeJean, who was injured last year. He was going to be a top 15 pick, tears ACL. People are like, okay, listen, let's just maybe he's a second-round talent, and he is a second-round talent, but, he gets to the Philadelphia Eagles. Guess who has a pick 6 to help win that team a Super Bowl? Cooper DeJean. So Luther Burden was probably the number 1 wide receiver, I think, last year coming out. Maybe him or Tet. It was 1 or 1. He was probably going to be a top 10 pick coming into the year and just kind of underperformed. 61 receptions, over 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. Just not the greatest year. There would be games where he had like 3. I mean, you can see against Alabama, he had 3 total yards. Against Arkansas, he had 11 total yards. There was games where he just didn't perform well. He still got the talent, man. I don't think he fell off a cliff. I think he still has the talent. I still think he's an excellent receiver. I think Luther Burden would be a great pick if you can get him in the first round, especially the back end of the first round. Do I think he's a better wide receiver than Emeka Buka? I do. Do I think teams are going to take Emeka Buka over Luther Burden? I also do. That's just sometimes how it goes. He's more of a boomer bust type prospect, although I do not think he's going to fail massively. I think he's going to be an excellent receiver, maybe not to the top 10 pick we were talking about a year ago, but for a first round talent, I think he belongs there. I think the Philadelphia Eagles would be an excellent spot if they can get him at number 32. So yes, that is my first mock draft. So I appreciate you guys sitting through. Let me know if you guys think that your team should take something different. If I'm completely wrong about a prospect, I would love to hear. I appreciate you guys sticking through the first episode of Nathan's Sports Talk. It means the world to me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys are following, subscribing, whatever platform you're watching this on. I appreciate you as always. Make sure you guys tune in. We'll try to do these. Maybe we'll do a post-draft one early next week or something like that. We'll talk about it, let that stuff develop a little bit, but we'll try to pump out the content for you guys in the podcast as we got football, only 5 months away, pretty much, right? Yeah, 5 months away, I guess. So basketball, hockey, MLB, all that stuff's on. So appreciate your support as always. We'll talk about all that continuing on with the podcast. Again, I appreciate it as always, and take care, everybody.